Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast, the last episode of the second month of the 2024th year. Well, that's not actually true, actually. There's been more years since. I'm Illeagle 86. I'm joined by my friends Techtic and Nerdbomber and a fourth friend today. Actually, a third friend. There's three friends here and me. The third friend is our fantastic Patreon producer, Mr. Stephen Keller. Stephen, I have a question for you. I'm going to ask all you guys this, but I'm going to ask Stephen first. This is going to sound crazy, but it relates to a conversation we were having before we got on the air. I want to know, we're going to go around, what would your last meal be? Because I was thinking about this recently. Like, let's say you're on death row because you robbed the president. I don't know. I don't know how I'd get on death row. What would your last meal be? And do you think you'd be able to eat it? That's like my secondary question.
I'm going to go spaghetti and meatballs.
Classic. Home style.
Yeah.
And I want, do you think because like,
Classic.
I think I have a weak constitution. Let me just start by saying that. I think I would get my last meal and I'd be like, I can't eat it. I'm too nervous. I don't know. Maybe that's overly philosophical for like 2 minutes into the podcast. But yeah, my last meal. Oh boy. It's really bad. Like, what does it say about me as a person that my first thought, I'm not saying this is my answer. But my first thought is like chicken McNuggets. Like, what does that say about me as a human being? Like, nothing good, right?
You're bland.
Yeah, I'm not a good person.
You're boring. You want to know what my last meal would be? I would ask for 10 minutes on the internet.
That's not a meal. That's
on Yelp.
Cheat. That's cheating.
So just let me finish. I would go on Yelp and I'd look for the worst rated restaurant out there. And I would order every single item on that menu such that when they take me out, I'm shit. Oh, there's going to be doo-doo everywhere. Like I'm trying to leave a mark on this world, and it's going to be a skid mark if that's the way things are going.
That's a very creative answer. It would be gross. Like, I would probably get like shout out to Five Guys. I think I get a Five Guys cheeseburger. I love Five Guys. Probably a steak. You can have as much as you want. So like probably a pizza. I don't know. Nerdbomber, any thoughts on your last? We already heard Techtic wants to give himself diarrhea, but what about you?
Very easy. I would want carne de asada tacos, and I would also want chips and salsa and a mango margarita. And I would also want like limitless chips and salsas if I was at a restaurant. Like, I would sit there for hours and they'd be like, "Are you ready to go yet?" And I'd be like, "No, there's still more chips." So
you're stretching it out. You're hoping to just eat chips and salsa for the rest of your life and never get executed. That's again very creative.
But also, like, that is the meal that I would want because
another
it's
round.
really good.
Yeah, I feel like I want to think about my answer more than I have. I do this on the podcast sometimes. I just ask questions without knowing what my own answer would be. It's not a good practice. You shouldn't do that if you're a podcast host. Stephen, thank you for joining us today. I'm not going to ask you such morose questions as that this entire time. Instead, we're going to be talking about video games in multiple senses because we have multiple topics. But our main topic today is the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase, which we got, I think, on the late side of last week. There's a lot to dig into here. Before we dig into stuff individually, I just want to say, and I think I've said this for the past few times we've talked about Nintendo Directs, like, I think they really have it down to a science. Like, we watch a lot of Directs for this show. We watch Nintendo Directs. We watch the State of Play. We watch whatever the Xbox One is called. What is the Xbox One called? Does anyone know?
Developer
Isn't it just like the
Showcase?
Yeah, Developer Showcase.
Yeah, so the title's not even good. It just, like, I find these to be the least, like, chore-esque of the three by a lot. And like, I don't know if it's just because it was like 25 minutes or something. It's just also the way it's packaged and the way it's delivered. I feel like there wasn't any BS. It was just like, let's get straight to what you want to see, which I did see a lot of what I wanted to see. And we'll get into that. But I just want to shout out Nintendo for being particularly great about that. All business. And also, like, as with any other Direct we've seen from Nintendo, there was, I think, a couple games here that they were like, oh, by the way, it's out right now. So like, you can just go play it. And like, I get that I rarely avail myself of that opportunity, but it's nice to have it available to me. So I appreciate that as well. Stephen, I'm going to turn it over to you first. I mean, you were the one who suggested this topic, not that we weren't going to talk about it anyways, but like, I would think that maybe you suggested it because you were aware of something that you were going to really like, or if there's something that in particular in this showcase jumped out at you as something that you're definitely going to be investing in, so to speak. I'll let you kick us off here. The floor is yours. We're kind of just going to jump around. I don't have a exact plan of like going in chronological whatever. So just, you have the pick of the litter.
Yeah, well, I think when I brought this up, it was like a couple weeks ago, just because Nintendo always does a Direct in February. So I was kind of hoping it'd be a first-party Direct rather than a partner showcase, but it kind of looked like it was going to head towards a partner showcase. So with partner showcases, I kind of lower my expectations because we're not going to get first party stuff. We're not going to find out about Metroid Prime 4 or anything like that.
Never.
I was going to say it's going to be a few more. You touched a nerve. It's going to be a few more years.
Yeah,
probably.
that's why I brought it up. But there's always some good third party, Metroidvanias in there. So for me, I think the standout for me was Ender Magnolia, the sequel to Ender Lilies, which I haven't played, but I own. And it's supposed to be one of the better Metroidvanias of the last few years. So
I did enjoy the dystopian vibe of this game. It looked very cool.
It's just kind of, you're just this little girl who doesn't do any of the combat. You just suck souls from people and you use those souls to fight. So it just kind of looks fun.
The combat, I feel like we saw another game like this announced somewhere recently. Like you have kind of like little pals just kind of like fighting on your behalf. So you're kind of just, like you said, it's kind of walking around and like, it's cool to be able to defeat things and then they work for you. It seems like, is this a franchise that's like been around for a while? It's a sequel to Ender Lily's Quietus of the Nights. I'm reading that. I don't know if there's other games before that, but
I think it's just the only other one.
It seemed like it had some lore behind it. Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to always think about Techtic predominantly when I watch these partner showcases, the ones like these that, like, I don't know, I guess there weren't that many side scrollers in this one, but there's always at least a few. That's like, I think you're always pretty much guaranteed to get one like that. You're guaranteed to get something that's at least close to a Metroidvania, and this was definitely that. This one, it seems like I don't know if they gave us an exact release date for this one. It's supposed to be this year sometime.
It always makes me feel like I'm cool, at least lately, because like I've always been a big pusher of these Metroidvania games, and like they seem to be trending now, and particularly within the indie community, we're getting more and more content of these Metroidvania side-scroller games, and like,
well, they heard that you're making one.
I've been telling you guys that I am cooler than all of you, and like it's starting.
I wasn't arguing that at any point. I think you are cooler than me. I think like, is it fair to say like, was there a game that kicked this trend off? Because like, I remember when Dead Cells came out, it was like a really big deal, and I don't know if that was the one that like really kind of spiraled us into like, because I agree, there's like a lot of side scrollers happening right now, and we're seeing side scrollers used in a very unique way, which I really appreciate. I guess I just wonder aloud, not that I need an answer, like when that was kicked off or what specifically kicked it off.
Probably Dead Cells or Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight was also a big
ones.
I'm gonna go next. We're just gonna kind of like go around and like talk individual ones, and I'm gonna maybe steal one from someone else. That's fine. The one that I the most was excited by was Arranger. I can't even really, it's one of those things, I saw it and I was like, people are going to see this and they're not going to be interested in this at all. But I just really like, I haven't played a lot of games with this perspective. I don't know what you call this perspective. It's kind of like the Pokemon perspective.
It's like that wooden puzzle game.
Well, yeah.
That physical wooden puzzle game that you like shuffle the pieces around to finish it out. And to make that in a video game, I thought was a super unique concept that looked pretty awesome.
And to not even just make it into a video game, but like make it into a video game where it's not just a series of those puzzles. Like there's a plot line and a reason why you're doing those puzzles, and integrating that with, dungeon design, I thought was super unique.
I think it's a really good example of, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like, I don't see this as a game that you would see on any other console. Like the way I play the Switch nowadays is exactly for games like this that really lend themselves to what the Switch does. I wish I knew what it's the same like camera perspective and like almost 8-bitness as Pokemon has. There's probably a term for it. I don't know what it is. I don't really play games like that ever. I didn't play any of the old Legend of Zeldas. I didn't play any of the old Pokemon. That wasn't really my thing. This may be my first foray into that, I guess. I would generally say, because there's at least a couple others, some of which I might get a chance to talk about. It seemed like some puzzly stuff was also kind of being highlighted in this partner showcase, and I really appreciated that because I'm really into puzzle games right now. I mentioned last week that, granted, it's not really a puzzle game per se, but I just wrapped up Case of the Golden Idol, which I really appreciated, again, because like when I sit down with the Switch, I'm not necessarily looking for like action-packed bonanza. If I want that, I'll probably go to my PS5. So again, this really just, I think, scratched an itch for me. Swinging over to my guy Techtic. Techtic, what tickled the gibbets?
So I agree with Steven that Ender Magnolia looked absolutely awesome. But as I have mentioned on a previous episode, something that I have been craving is a highly customizable Gundam robot game. I've been wanting this for a while. I was disappointed in other releases that looked like a Gundam skin, and Gundam Breaker 4 seems to be bringing exactly what I want. A robot combat game where you have full customization options and you can make it your own robot. Absolutely scratching that itch right there. Could not be more excited for this one. And I don't know why, but this feels to me perfect for a Switch type game. I don't think I would want to play this type of game on any other console. For me, this feels like something that like I'm on handheld mode on the go playing and messing around with my robots.
Yeah, this is definitely one that, and as much as I just said, I'm not looking to like get too combative in my Switch games. This appealed to me. Like I had a phase back when I first got the Switch. This was during like pandemic times where I got Starlink Battle for Atlas, and like, granted, that's not robots, but it's like it's very customizable, and like you can switch mix and match parts all the time, and like get new ships and like new base kits and all that stuff. Kind of similar to some of the stuff that's happening here. I wound up playing that game for like a huge amount of time, then lost all my save data and never went back. But I've never played a Gundam game. I'm at least vaguely interested. This definitely is one that like. So this is one that, like, and this happens all the time on the eShop. I would buy this one on sale for like $5. I'm sure that's not what it's going to be when it comes out later this year, but it definitely looked pretty flashy. Also, shout out to the diorama mode. I think that's a cool thing as well.
Yeah, that was awesome. It had like all of those like itches that are just scratching. Oh man, my leg is kicking. You know what I'm saying? It really hit it for me.
Nerdbomber, what's kicking? What has your leg kicking?
I hope no one is surprised here, but another Crab's Treasure.
Yeah,
like
I'm
the
not
entire
at all.
time I was watching this trailer, I was like, absolutely yes, like 100% yes. They're basically taking cute platforming type game, very cute setting, and then they said that it was like a Souls-like game, which is very intriguing to me. I'm not normally like a Souls-like person, but when you put a cute crab aesthetic on it, I'm suddenly a little bit more interested. So I'm very intrigued by this. This is also coming out super soon in April, and this is definitely on my radar. It seemed to, like, I was kind of getting like Nemo vibes from the voice actors. I don't really know why, but I was, and maybe it was just because like Under the Sea put me in that headspace. But even the fact that like you have to go and find different shells because you don't have one, it just seemed like, you know, taking a genre that has pretty consistently been, you know, dark and dreary. When you think of a Souls-like game, you always think of like this very dark aesthetic, and making it cute to potentially bring in a wider audience, which is me, because I've not been drawn to the Souls-like genre yet, but this might bring me in.
I really hope this game encourages exploration, and it's not just a linear storyline, just because, you know, your shells are going to have some ability on how well it defends you, if it slows you down, if it speeds you up, whatever. And I really hope exploration kind of gives you that leg up in your combat. That would be just a really nice feature for this game to have.
But even still, I wouldn't mind if it was linear.
I do want to know.
Like, that would be fine with me.
I do want to know about the, like, because it says collect over 60 shells with distinct special abilities. I wish they would have gotten more into what that was, because like you said, the trailer kind of just shows like, oh, now you have a can, now you have a box, now you have. It's like, okay, but if I can just switch at any given time, it seems like, what's the benefit of doing so? I'm sure there is one. And yeah, I do think it's funny that, like, I think the juxtaposition is great with like having a Souls-like that's about like, you know, undersea critters. I just think it's funny that the term Souls-like doesn't change. Like when you hear Souls-like, it's like, yeah, it's like dark and gritty and medieval, and this is clearly not that. I also would say that I thought this was the better of I think there were two predominantly undersea games, and let's just take a brief break from like everyone picking a game and talk about whatever the heck this last game was. What was this Endless Ocean?
Luminous?
So
don't be talking bad about Endless Ocean.
I'm not going to talk bad about it.
It looks
I
fantastic.
definitely wasn't going to talk bad about it. I want to, I guess, I want to understand it, because like I don't know why am I picking it up and playing it? Is it just to go around and like find fish? What is the goal? And Steven, it sounds like you're precious about this game, so maybe you can tell me.
Actually, I don't have any attachment to this game.
Let me ask everyone this question. Why does anyone watch any David Attenborough film?
To fall asleep.
It's
No.
relaxing.
It's
to fall
relaxing.
asleep.
It's neat to learn about the animals, to learn about the species and things like that. That's why you play this game. This has relaxing vibes. You're going to learn something along the way. It's got a little bit of a collection mechanism to it, because you can share what you've discovered with your friends. And It's
It
doing
looked great.
This is like the equivalent of all of the fish you can catch in Animal Crossing. Boy, do those hit.
It felt like the trailer because it was right at the end. Like it felt like it got a lot of airtime, and it was like the big thing. And I did like the idea of like they really, and co-op was another big thing with a lot of these games, by the way. And this was another one where they're like, get together with like 20 of the fellas and like just dive down and see what you find. Like, I think it's interesting. I guess I was wondering what the goal is necessarily. If it's just finding all the fish in the sea, because if they're taking the like. If they're being factual about it, that's like basically impossible. I guess I don't know how factual they're being about it, but aren't there like a jillion fish species and like most of the ocean is unexplored kind of thing?
And then they're throwing in mosasaurs and ancient dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this game so cool. There's the perpetual DLC factor where they can just keep adding new creatures. It's kind of got a Pokemon Go.
They'll be like, we put this one very rare fish in the ocean. Just go ahead and try and find it. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't know that it's a game I would purchase and play, but it was, again, it looked great. So, Steven, back over to you. What else in here, if anything, was speaking to you?
Oh, I've got a list. The one big thing was the game that we've already known about, but we finally got a release date, and that's Pepper Grinder. I've been eagerly anticipating
another side scroller. I like
when we get this
Puzzle
release date.
Yeah, puzzle platforming. March 28th is when this comes out.
Yeah,
and this is by our pals, is it not? Was
Devolver?
This was Devolver. Yeah, this looked really good. Wasn't this one of the ones that was like in a like compilation of a bunch of games? So like I wanted to see more of it, and I feel like I didn't.
No, this was just before the compilation.
They gave it its own.
This was the one with it was a lot of darting across the screen, and it had this big drill that you were kind of being pulled along
and you
by.
could find hidden compartments within stuff.
Yeah, so it's a lot like there's levels in. I think it's Ori Will the Wisps where you get a drill ability. It's really kind of fun to drill around in. So it looks like it could be fun.
Yeah, I'm all about. I mean, it's referred to as puzzle platforming. And there's boss battles. It's again much like a lot of the games here. It's very old school feeling, but with a kind of new twist on it, which I really appreciate. Similar, like, and that was another kind of through line. Like, I felt like there was a decent amount of platforming. Penny's Big Breakaway, I thought looked great.
I thought it just looked kind of like a cheap Sonic-y clone.
Does Sonic do a lot of 3D platform? When I hear Sonic, I think 2D Sonic stuff. Like, I know
a lot of the newer games, at least the ones that came out in the last 5 years, kind of jump between 2D, 3D.
And it's from the Sonic Mania people, so it kind of should give maybe a little Sonic vibe.
Yeah, but like, I don't like it when it's that close. I don't know. It's almost like the equivalent of the uncanny valley of video games. Like, it looks too much like Sonic. It's freaking me out.
I think this game is going to live or die by the traversal, right? Like, the whole thing is like you have a yo-yo and you can like swing around on the yo-yo. That's the whole shtick. And it's either going to work or it's not, and you're either going to like it or you don't. So like, I thought that looked interesting. Again, I'm not saying I'm going to run out and buy this because this one is available now, but I thought this looked pretty cool. So that was kind of another one for me. T-Dog, swinging back to you.
So as far as my next choice, I'm going to have to go with World of Goo here.
Loved this one.
I like to have puzzle solving games in my arsenal for when I'm like, I hate to say it, but my puzzle solving games where there's not like quick combat or things like that, that is prime I'm dying in bed of a sickness and need something to do game. And this World of Goo kind of like, especially considering it's sick and there's going to be goo coming out of all sorts of stuff, it would fit perfectly in that collection. And so World of Goo, puzzle solver, if I get sick, I'm playing you. Yeah,
this was another one that, again, the puzzle elements, and like I feel like I played a game like this. I don't know what it is, but like you're kind of like working with no, it's not like Pikmin. I don't know what it's like, and I haven't even played Pikmin, but it scratched a part of my gray matter that I was like, I've played a game like this before, but I haven't in a while.
You played Bridge Builder in high school when you were like, oh, do I want to be an engineer? That's what it's like.
Yeah, this one looked really good. May 23rd, this one comes out. Never even heard of. That's the other thing about these showcases. Sometimes it's like, I have never heard of World of Goo. I must not have been watching showcases when the first World of Goo came out, or it wasn't in the showcase. But World of Goo 2 may be my jumping on point.
It was like one of the first Wii, I think, eShop games. Like digital only. It's kind of the first time Nintendo got into a digital game was World of Goo.
Well, I can get the original.
That's an interesting
The
fact.
original World of Goo is $15 on the Switch right now. So if anyone's interested in, I guess, getting into it, that might be the jumping off point. Kind of continuing on here, Nerdbomber.
Epic Mickey Rebrushed, and obviously I'm leaning into like the very cartoony, like 3D platformy type games here, but Epic Mickey was actually a game that came out originally on the Wii, and I played it back then. Like my parents had bought it for me, and it was a great game. And so I love that it's getting a little bit more love, a new life with a remaster here. It really was like a very innovative game for a Disney game, especially like back when it originally came out. It was when like licensed games were starting to kind of finally like drop off a little bit. Like there was that era where everything was just a licensed game and they started getting kind of like sloppy and bad. And this came out and was just like a breath of fresh air. And it was a very inventive use of, you know, the Wiimote at the time, at least from what I can remember. So I'm really happy that this is getting a new lease on life. Hopefully more people will, you know, give it a shot, because I think too, this might have come out. I mean, I know the Wii was still being used very actively, even like in today's day and age, but I think in like the terms of the new game cycle, it kind of came out a little bit later in the game cycle for the Wii. So, you know, people should try this game out. And I'll probably play it again, honestly. Like we have the Wii game in our basement right now, so maybe I'll just play that.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't spend money. We have this.
Yeah. And I do have the 3DS. There was a sequel, so I have that. I've just never played it.
Yeah, it's very, and I've seen a lot lately. You know, you mentioned like this being back from an era where like every game was like a tie-in kind of thing, or like a lot of games were, and that doesn't happen as much anymore. Like I've seen a lot lately. Like people are getting kind of precious about that and like putting rose-colored glasses on. There were a lot of like very bad like games that would come out that were tied to movies that like just weren't any good. So like you said, like this was, I would imagine this being remade, certainly it stands to reason that like this was one of the better ones. I've never played this one. It looks like, again, just a fun 3D platformer. This is, I put it in the same category as Penny's Big Breakaway, where I watched it and I was like, yeah, if I'm a fan of platformers, like it's a good time for me to be around.
With that said, if you're a fan of 3D platformers, I am absolutely surprised that you haven't mentioned Super Monkeyball Banana Rumble.
So, yeah.
This is a 3D platformer. It has multiplayer couch co-op implications for just like a fun game night with your friends. And it's just silly and cute. I'm surprised any of you have mentioned this, if I'm being honest. Super Monkey Ball has been a mainstay in the gaming universe for years.
It's on my list, but it's lower, I guess, on the list of games I want to talk about. Like, yes, it's a mainstay. Like, I think I've played it a couple of times.
This was like prime sleepover game back in the day.
I agree with that. I don't know. I guess I couldn't really say what I didn't. I don't even know if I could say there's something I didn't like about when I played it before, but I don't know. It looks fine. Well, I guess you kind of opening the room up here, deferring again to Steven, because Steven, you said you had a list. Are there other things on the list that we have not yet discussed?
One, of course, Techtic will enjoy is that we finally got a release date for Tales of Kenzera, which is coming in April, which we saw originally at the Game Awards, I believe. So
yeah,
getting that Metroidvania style game. Unfortunately, it was just thrown in the sizzle reel, so we didn't get anything new with it other than the release date.
Oh, you don't worry about that. I am tracking that game. I had that game, and then I had Prince of Persia on my notifications alerts.
Pre-order.
So,
if you pre-order, you get 10% off, according to what I'm looking at here, and quote unquote special perks. I have no idea what that means, but.
Also, I just want to give a shout out to Steven. Not everyone. So Steven being a Patreon, we kind of have a lot of conversations within our Patreon thread, and he has been a fantastic, with his expertise in side scrollers and things like that. He has been a fantastic consultant for me trying to develop my own game. So I just wanted to give a shout out.
Just gotta love me some platformers.
I want the last one I'll bring up. Well, actually, there's two I want to bring up. One, I'm gonna just say that, like, I don't know, Star Wars Battlefront, like. I don't think I'm going to buy this. Like, I wasn't even that big of a Battlefront guy when it was out.
Battlefront was terrible. Hot take. I don't care.
Definitely don't think it was terrible. I think you're coming in way too hot. But
I'm on fire.
I really like the continued trend of, and I think it's like one company. I think it might be Asper Digital, like just bringing back old Star Wars games. I want more of that forever. I don't necessarily want this one. I wanted to just kind of briefly shout that out. That's coming out March 14th. But the other one...
Bring back Bounty Hunter.
Bring back Bounty Hunter. That's right. Steven, very dedicated listener, knows that I'm a big fan of Bounty Hunter. The last one I want to bring up, and again, more so in the sense of like, I want to know more, is Pentiment. I'm interested in this one, if only because the visual style, I think, kind of drew me in as just being kind of different than everything else we saw.
This was on that blast reel.
This was on that blast reel.
We didn't really get to
It was
see
on
a
the
lot
tail
of
end
time.
of
This is ironically, this is one of the 4 games, and I know we had talked about Xbox sort of, taking their first party games and spreading them around and putting them on other consoles, but this is one that was an Xbox, first party game that they're kind of releasing out to other consoles.
Isn't
now.
Grounded the same deal?
That and Grounded, yep. Which I will say, Grounded, the graphics definitely took a hit on the transfer over, but
Yeah.
hey.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Switch they've never cared about that. So, like, if you care about it, then,
On the plus side, we can play in the same room now.
there you go.
This is true.
So those are the ones I wanted to mention. Anyone else? Anything? I mean, it's not like we don't have time. So, like, there's a few here we haven't mentioned yet, but I don't know that we need
Pocket card
Pocket
jockey.
Card Jockey.
Pocket card jockey.
playing the ponies and also playing solitaire. This is one that I didn't understand. I like both of these. Well, I've never played the ponies, but like I like cards and I like solitaire. I just I'm very interested in seeing the execution about like, oh, I won a game of solitaire. Now my horse runs a little bit faster. Like I just think that's a very I don't know how those two things meet in the middle, I guess is my point.
Yeah, it was a big hit on the 3DS. That's where it first came out because it's done from Game Freak, so it's the Pokemon crew.
Did you ever play
I have it. I think I played it for like 2 seconds just because I bought it before the 3DS eShop was going down. So everyone talked about it. So I was like, I
did
have
the
to get
same
it.
thing.
So
I bought it and it's like sitting on my DS, but I never
Yeah.
played it, which I mean, I probably should just play it on that instead of buying the game again. But I don't think it's like standard solitaire. Like, I don't think you're playing a full game of solitaire, but I think it's more, and I might be totally off base here, but from what I remember looking at, it's like not quite playing poker either, but like you're trying to get certain card runs to make your pony giddy up.
Almost like rummy or something. Yeah, it could be it could be literally anything. Nerdbomber, a through line with you, which, I probably could have guessed this, but like you're big into the animals. You're big animal.
I am really big into
You're a
the
big
animals.
animal gal.
Yeah, you put an animal in front of me, I'm probably going to take attention and put your game at the top of my list.
She literally asked, I don't care what you do in the game you're working on, but just make me a cat.
Well, it makes it all the more interesting that you didn't, like Techtic said, you didn't shout out Super Monkeyball. It's a monkey and a ball. It's an animal.
She can't get past the ball.
He's
No.
trapped. It's inhumane.
Super Monkeyball is something where it's an existing franchise, and I feel like I just have missed the boat on it, and I don't know why. Like, I know it's not a game where you need all of the lore, but I feel like I just don't understand it. I don't know what there is to understand that
I
I'm
get
missing,
that,
but I
though.
don't
I
understand
get that.
it. So.
It plays into it for me too. I agree. There, like in this case, I don't know if you can miss the boat. I don't even know if there is a boat, but like I still feel like I missed
I
it.
think it's just a sleepover game. I think that's the perfect definition of that
How
game.
many sleepovers are you having these days?
I guess every night, technically.
Right. Yeah. It's very philosophical. So yeah, I mean, I think
There are two more that I want to make sure that I make mention of. The first one, this is just sort of a quick mention. Southpark Snowday. It seems like it's an MMORPG.
I don't know why they're making
game,
South
but
Park games.
let me this is the comment I want to make about this one. This was surprising, but this feels like something that should just be on like comedycentral.com, like a flash game. It doesn't seem like it's a game that I'm playing on my console. I thought that was very weird to see.
Agreed.
And then the other game that I really want to mention that is kind of exciting is Fantasy Life: The Girl Who Steals Time. This game looked like Animal Crossing. However, Animal Crossing between two villages is what we're going to call it, where your acts and trials, tribulations, whatever, in one village impacts the other village years in the future. So I really like Animal Crossing. I think it's chill vibes. I think it has that, we saw it as having an incredible resurgence during the early stages of COVID. Everyone was playing it. And so now we've taken that game and added a new element of time to it, which I think is a neat twist.
There's like battle, and like what I thought was interesting about that was that you could like pick a career, and your like mini games would focus on whatever your career was or your role in the town. That's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, it just added a lot to a genre that we already know everyone loves.
I can't imagine being a game developer and like being a game, as Techtic can attest. Like it's challenging to start with. I can't imagine being like, we should take the thing that like so many movies and television shows have gotten wrong because there's so much paradox, which is time travel, and like bake that directly into our game. And like, I agree, it's a really cool concept of like, you go steal something from the town in the past and you get back to the future and you messed everything up. Like, I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, the only time that I am ever going to touch ever is slow down or speed up.
That's
once you go beyond that, it gets wonky, man.
Yeah, don't mess with the fabric of reality, even in a video game. Okay, well, yeah, there's a few we didn't mention here. Snufkin Melody of Moon Valley, Demon Slayer, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Sword Art Online, Unicorn Overlord, other stuff.
One that I've never heard you guys talk about, but it's really fun and it looks really silly, is Suika Game. And
I want to know about
DLC.
Game.
It's so much fun.
Is this just like 2048, but like on the Switch? Because that's what I took away from it. And I'm
I
like,
don't know what
kind
2048 is.
You don't know what 2048 is?
No.
Oh,
basically,
man.
Suika Game is you have fruit, and when you combine two of the same fruit, they become the next fruit up in this little circle that they have. And your whole goal is to get built up to a watermelon.
Yeah. So Nerdbomber and Techtic, who I know are fellow 2048 stands, he just described 2048, did he not?
I was not a 2048 person.
Oh, I know Nerdbomber was.
Yeah.
2048, for those that don't know, was this game where you basically start with a bunch of twos, I think. And when you push a two, and it's a grid of 4x4, I believe. And if you push a two into another two, it makes a 4. And if you push a 4 into another 4, it makes an 8. And like, but you have to try and get up to 2048. That's the whole goal. But like, you can, if you get numbers that aren't adjacent to each other, you can combine, and then you get that across the whole grid, then you lose, basically. It's kind of hard to explain until you play it, but it's like a very similar concept. Suika Game looks like a great, like, sit down with my wife,
so
challenge her to a
and
Suika
it's
game.
Dirt cheap. It's like $5.
Yeah, that's on the list for sure. And yeah, this was we got a multiplayer DLC, so I can play with my wife now. So yeah, again, hit us up on Twitter if we didn't talk about a game that you desperately want us to talk about, we could talk about it with you on Twitter. At @OWLeague86, at @OWTechtic, at @OWNerdBomber, our main show account, at Online Warriors 1. Let's have a conversation over there, much like we've had conversations with Steven. Steven recently told me that my opinion about the movie Past Lives was wrong, which, he's probably right. But you could be telling me that I'm wrong. Yeah, you could be telling me that I'm wrong about stuff if you just talk to us on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it. So anyways, we're going to take a short break now. We'll come back to talk about Borderlands. But before we do that, Steven, it's that time of the show where you're on the show and we get to thank you for your continued support of the show. Steven is a Patreon producer on this show. He supports us at the highest of our 3 levels of Patreon support, which is the night level. He has a full suit of armor. He has a horse. What's your horse's name, Steven?
Remember, we talked about this. I don't have a horse. I'm allergic.
We must have talked about this and I forgot. We'll get you something else.
I would sneeze the whole time.
How about like
my eyes would be watery.
How about like a griffin? How would you do with a griffin? Like a mythical creature to ride. A dragon.
I like
how about
griffins.
A griffin
if
or a
dragons
dragon?
don't have hair, that's good.
Yeah, we'll get you a dragon. Think about what you want your dragon to be named. So again, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. Steven supports us there at the highest of our 3 levels. That's the night level. There's also a Squire level and a Page level. The night level gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. You get the occasional guest spot on the show, which Steven is enjoying right now. You, of course, also get this producer shout out and input into the weekly game segment. The Squire level gets you access to the monthly secret segment and the vlog, and the Page level gets you access to the monthly secret segment. So again, patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast is where you can go to get the details on that, and where you can go to start your journey, your quest, so to speak, of becoming a knight. So thanks again to Steven. We'll take a short break now. We'll come back to talk about Borderlands.
Hi, I'm Kevin DeCristofano.
And I'm Sean Flanagan.
And we are the Ninja Turtle Nerds, your weekly podcast covering the Ninja Turtle comic book series one issue at a time. Plus the video games, the cartoon show, the VHS tapes. If it's Ninja Turtles, we'll cover it. Ninja Turtle Nerds is available wherever you get your podcast.
Okay, we're back to talk about Borderlands. You guys know Borderlands. It's a game you played back in I don't know when this came out, like 2010 or something. I have to look it up. It's getting a movie because that's kind of what happens now. We got a trailer for this movie last week. It's coming out August 9th, 2024. Let me run down the cast list for you. Kevin Hart, Cate Blanchett, Ariana Greenblatt, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jack Black playing the robot whose name I can't remember. Claptrap, thank you. And a smattering of other folks. I think... So I got some things to say about this. But the main thing, and the one thing I'll say before turning it over to other people, is that when I think about Borderlands, which it looks like came out in 2009, actually. First of all, who here has played Borderlands? Techtic, I believe you have.
I have.
I have.
Steven?
It was a joint.
I played the first one briefly.
So the thing I always associate with it, I guess, or like think like, do you guys remember how that game starts? You're all on the bus and that song is playing, the Ain't No Rest for the Wicked song. I could not, but like when I saw that there was a trailer for this, I was like, oh, they're gonna bump Ain't No Rest for the Wicked. It's gonna be awesome. How do you not use that song? Like, am I the only one who associates that song with this game? Is that just a me thing?
No, my coworker railed against the trailer because of that.
Yeah, like I couldn't believe it. Like their song choice was like, I like that song too. I can't think. It's the ELO song. I can't think of the name of it.
Early Borderlands was peak Borderlands, and they just jumped the shark on that.
Like I couldn't believe they didn't have that song. So like, to say nothing else of like the rest of it, like I didn't understand. I guess I'll say this. I think Jack Black as Claptrap is inspired. I love Jack Black and everything he does.
I disagree. I think as someone like Claptrap is one of the mainstays in every single game, and the voice just doesn't work. And I can't really put my finger on it, but it just doesn't work. And I almost wish they would have just taken the original Claptrap voice actor from the games and been like, here, I know you're not a big name, but come do some movie voice acting for us.
Well, they're movies. They can't do that. It's not an option.
But why
It's not an
not?
option.
But why not? It's the only character that you don't need a real person for. It would have been so easy.
Where is the kooky bird guy? Because that's the guy I always played as. I can't think
Yeah,
of
we
his
can't.
name.
No one sees him.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, they have not introduced him at all, so I have no idea.
I think his name was Mordecai.
Also, where's Handsome
Mordecai.
Jack?
Yeah, he might not be in this game.
I want Handsome Jack. I want just.
Yeah.
I can't figure out the timing of this movie either, because it doesn't align with any of the game plot lines at all. And I'm just struggling. Like, the games, I get that the stories could get a little convoluted, but like, you already have a story baked in. Why wouldn't you just go with that?
So, Steven, thoughts on casting? Thoughts on just all of this that we saw?
So, because of my lack of love for the series, I think the movie looks like dumb fun, and I am all for it.
I've seen a lot of it's giving Guardians of the
it looks
Galaxy
like
vibe.
just another Guardians of the Galaxy vibe. It's Cate Blanchett doing something I've never seen her do before.
Yeah, it's off type.
Kind of Jamie Lee Curtis, but it kind of gives off maybe a little bit of everything everywhere all at once. But I mean, get rid of Kevin Hart, get rid of Jack
I was
Black.
about to say
and
Kevin Hart's
give me
the one
everybody else.
I don't understand Kevin Hart.
He should not play Roland. They are taking honor from Roland.
Isn't Roland the big
character.
soldier guy?
Yeah.
Like, what are they
and
doing?
I'm not saying that Kevin Hart can't play bigger roles and that he can't be an action hero, but even the energy that he brings to the role, like, it's not like he's trying to be more serious. Like, and there's nothing in Borderlands as a game that is serious, but Roland is the character that probably borders, pun intended, on serious the most. And Kevin Hart just doesn't have that energy. It's too, like, frenetic and does not fit the character. And I don't understand what you're doing. And also, no shade on Ariana Greenblatt either, but she also is not bringing the same frenetic energy. And maybe it's just not coming across in the trailer, but like Tiny Tina is crazy.
Sociopathic.
Yeah, and I'm not getting that energy from what I'm seeing in the trailer either. Like, it needs to be unhinged.
Yeah.
She's not quite unhinged enough in this trailer.
And then another thing, and it's I don't want to poo-poo on all the casting, but specifically, you have to match a lot of the art choices. And when you have a siren like Lilith, the tattoos are pivotal. And we saw none of those. And so I don't know to what extent they're even going to leverage her siren abilities to follow what she's capable of in the story.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's something that she'll become as the movie goes on. I don't know.
Yeah, like Kevin Hart, he disqualified himself from taking serious roles, I don't know, somewhere along the line. It might have been Jumanji, where it was just like, all right, he's now just like the funny guy. Yeah, like
oh my God.
that's what he's going to do, and that's who he's going to be. I don't think Cate Blanchett's necessarily done that. Like, I can see her doing this effectively. And you guys said Guardians of the Galaxy, and like, I get that comparison, if only because it's also like kind of like in space. But like, I think what this movie should try to be, because I think this movie was a huge success, I think it should try to be Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I thought that Dungeons and Dragons movie was great. It's like a cast of characters that all have their own role in what is essentially a heist / treasure hunt kind of thing. That's what I think this movie should strive to be. I think the production value of this looked good, and I saw a lot of things that were readily recognizable from the game, which, you know, that's one of the jobs they have as making this movie is what they have to do. But like, some of the casting stuff was like just a little too overt for me to ignore. I'm not saying this is going to be bad. I'm also not saying it's going to be good. I want the bird guy back, and I want them to use the right song. Like, I couldn't believe they didn't use the right song. Like, to me, as silly as it is,
It might be in a future trailer.
it's
The song.
that's directly indicative of like you don't know what IP you have. I feel like.
Do you think for Lilith and Tanis they should have cast younger actresses?
Tanis, no. I think Jamie Lee Curtis can do it. Like, I believe in that.
It does make me wonder again about just like the timeline of the storyline, though.
Yeah, it's fair to wonder that. I'll also say I didn't finish the first one. I got a decent amount of the way into it, so like I'm not super beholden to this franchise. It sounds like I may be a little bit more than you, Steven, but like I don't care that much. And also, I don't know that this is a franchise that many people will care that. Like, it's not like Last of Us, where people are like, you can't mess this up or we'll kill you. I think this is more so like people are like, oh, it might be fun.
I think they can, because no one can really figure out the storyline. The main villain is Atlas. Atlas is a gun manufacturer. It's starring Edgar Ramirez, which, like, he sucks. Like in a good way. Like, he sucks. Like, when you see his face, you're like, oh, villain, he sucks. But like, I'm glad they didn't pick him for Handsome Jack, because that needs to be
Timothy Olyphant.
Yes, absolutely. But like, I can't figure out the story, so I think there is opportunity for them to screw it up. Now, aside from my poo-pooing, I do want to give a shout out to the casting that I thought was absolutely phenomenal. Gina Gershon for Moxie. I was a little skeptical at first, but then I went into her IMDb, and she is giving me stepmom porn star vibes, and I was like, "Yep, that's mom. That's I almost said mommy.
Mom.
That's mommy.
Wow.
That's Moxie."
I didn't even realize she was in the movie
That
until I
is
just looked at the cast listing, and I'm like, yep, all right, I like that she's in it.
Techtic, you make sure you keep that in the edit, because that was really wonderful.
I'll call her mommy. Honestly, she is chef's kiss. Good choice.
I don't know that I got far enough in the game to even know who Mad Moxie is, so I don't really feel anything about that. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think this could be fun. I think they have a lot of room to move around, and again, I get that it could be bad and they could screw it up, but I don't know. People are complaining about the casting, but like, I don't know that people are complaining about much else, because there's not much else to complain about yet. It's fair to wonder about the plot, but I think there's a lot they can do, and yeah, to wonder about the timeline is fair, but I think to get mad about it, I don't know that we're there yet. We have time to get mad, because again, August 9th, 2024 is when this comes out, so we'll get another trailer. They might use the right music, they might not, and then maybe I'll get mad about it again. Who's to say? It's time for What Are You Up To Wednesday. This is the part of the show where we talk about what we've been up to. And Steven, as our guest, of course, the floor is yours to begin.
So last time I was on the show, I had mentioned I was playing Cyberpunk. I took a little break here and there to play some other games, but I have finally finished Cyberpunk and the Phantom Liberty DLC. It is a very fun game, but also the buggiest game I've ever played in my entire life.
So they haven't fixed all of that? Because I know when it first came out, it was like a big thing, right? But
I
assume
think
they
I
would've fixed
crashed at least once every play session I played
That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
I've literally had that game since release and been afraid to play.
Yeah, like, luckily it saves often, or at least I manually saved often, so I never really lost any work, but like any play. But like, there was a scene where I was fighting a character, he gets in his car to drive away, his vehicle drives away, but his character just floats in the air.
Yeah, that's fun though. That's good. That's good.
And
That's
like,
good
so there's a
times.
lot of that stuff going on, or like, I made a car blow up and like came back to the part where I made the car blow up later in the game and it was still on fire, but the NPCs around it were acting like it wasn't on fire, so they were just standing in the flames, taking selfies and stuff. Like, it's just, yeah, it was really fun. Played it for 85 hours, but I'll never touch it again. I don't care about getting other playthroughs to get other scenarios. Yeah.
You're more patient than I am. Like, if a game that crashes every time you play it, you put in 85 hours. That's like kind of impressive.
Yeah. So so I'm playing for the nice thing was it would be like I really should go make dinner. Oh, game crashed. I guess I can go make dinner.
It's making decisions for you. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of nice.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. And then the next two are kind of they're for Techtic. Just you guys can go away. Techtic
right,
and I
I'll
will
just-
just have this conversation.
I'll take a beat.
I beat Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
And
It's
how was it?
amazing. They introduced this mechanic which all Metroidvanias need now is on the map you can take a picture, and so you can they call it like a memory or something. So like if there's like a section where you need to double jump and you haven't acquired double jump, you can take a picture so you know that, oh, I need double jump to get past this section, or I need to blow this wall up, but I don't have the ability to blow the wall up.
Oh,
I'll
so when you
picture.
go back, you can remember where it
Yeah.
was. Oh, that's a neat feature.
Yes. So they kind of cap it like you have like 14 of them, but you earn the ability to do it throughout the game.
Can you wipe memories to?
Yeah, you can delete them once you're there, you can delete it. So that was very handy because it'd be like just litter a few around. All right, I got that ability. Let's go look on the map, see where those things are. I'm good to go. So it kind of saves some time so you're not always running around. The platforming was challenging. There's a lot of like dash, click to the wall, double jump, dash. When you hit the wall, it resets everything so you can keep kind of just traversing through things, which I kind of like those types of things in games where it's just you get in the rhythm and you just fly through things. The bosses were kind of difficult, but nothing too challenging.
Have you played Metroid Returns? Because I thought on the 3DS, I thought in that game that they did a pretty good job just flashing parts that you didn't complete.
I don't remember. I know I've played it twice. I don't remember.
Sounds like it's time for a third time.
Yeah, might be. But yeah, it's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. It's polished. It's fun. It's snappy. It's quick. I don't remember how long it took me to beat, but
Under 6 hours?
no, not under 6 hours.
Oh, man. So it's at least 2 days.
Yeah, it's at least a 2-dayer. And then the other Metroidvania I'm playing is a game called Ultros, which came out 2 weeks ago on the PS5 and PC. And if you look it up, it's just an acid trip of psychedelic colors. And I don't understand what I'm doing in the game, but I'm like 5 hours into it, and it's finally starting to click. Because it's got this mechanic where when you beat you have to find these 7 beings. And when you unlock the being, time resets and the loop starts again. And so you lose all of your skills in your skill tree. But you can find memory seeds. And so you can permanently unlock skills on that skill tree. And it's just a weird game where you're fighting weird, creepy monsters and you want their meat because you eat the meat. And you eat the meat, which then gives you the ability to unlock your skill tree.
Sounds like BioShock.
But if you fight, you can't just mash one button to fight bad guys because the meat will be worse. So you have to kind of mix up your ability to your fighting tactics. So you can't always just fight. You have to dodge, back attack, uppercut, jump, kick. You just have to keep mixing up your fighting styles to get the better quality meat. But it's trippy. I don't know what I'm doing. I thought I was going to quit at the beginning because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to go Google some how-to tips for the game. But then I think now it's finally unlocked. And that's why I was up till past midnight last night because I just kept playing and kept going and going. So it takes a little while at the beginning, but it clicks after a while. I think that's about it for me.
Okay, so Nerdbomber and I can check back in now.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we're here. We're back. Okay, I'll go next. I want to talk about a movie franchise that started back in 2012, and I'm just now getting around to watching it because I heard about it on another podcast as being good, and I was skeptical, which is these days as good a reason as I need to watch anything. Have you guys seen the new Planet of the Apes movies? The ones that would have
Trilogy?
started
I think I saw one.
the trilogy, yeah.
So dang good.
Yeah, so
if
I've watched the
trash
first two.
these,
No,
I'm
no.
done. I'm unplugging and I'm out.
No, I'm actually here to say and I've watched the first two. I haven't watched War yet. I've watched Rise and Dawn. In particular, Dawn was kind of amazing. Rise had some moments where I was like, this is pretty goofy, but Dawn was very earnestly good, pretty much throughout. Andy Serkis is amazing. The mocap is amazing. Like all the visual effects. This movie was like nominated for and maybe won, I don't remember, a bunch of Oscars for like visual effects, and it's well deserved. Some of the apes are like incredible. I would recommend just going and watching some of these if you're like looking for a mid 2000s experience, or sorry, a mid 2010s experience that is not the MCU but captures the same era of cinema. I feel like you need to look no further than this. Really, really enjoying it. And I'm looking to watch the third very soon. I haven't watched it yet. And there's also a fourth that I think is coming out like later this year. I don't know.
It's good prep for the new one this season.
Exactly. And then the other thing I wanted to shout out, I watched another movie today. So it's all movies for me today. Nerdbomber, I believe you talked about this on a previous episode a while back. Marcell, the shell with shoes on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really,
So excited.
Really good. Like surprisingly, I guess I shouldn't say surprisingly. Like it's A24. It had like a crazy Rotten Tomatoes score.
Your
You said
wife
it was good.
reminds me of Marcell, like the voice actress behind her. By the way.
Right.
Jenny
I've heard
Slate.
that before.
Yeah.
This movie is like, and by the way, I came into this movie. I know that Marcell the Shell with Shoes On was like a YouTube thing, I think, or like a video short thing. And the movie kind of actually gets into that. But no, I had no exposure to Marcell before this movie. My goodness, so poignant and heartfelt and like surprisingly profound for a lot of it. And also like...
Did a shell make you cry? Did a claymation shell make you cry?
I did not cry.
Did you tear up? Did you at least like
I
feel it a little bit in your chest?
I would say I missed it a little bit.
You don't have to feel like a bad person if you didn't. I didn't.
There's definitely parts that are well engineered and well crafted to evoke that reaction. Also some really funny parts. And like just the other thing about it, it's just 90 minutes. You know how much I've talked about on this show before, how I love movies that are 90 minutes. And this movie was actually 88 minutes. So shout out to that. Really, really great. Recommend it to anyone who has Netflix, because this was, I believe, free on Netflix. You could spend your time so many worse ways than this. So yeah, that's it.
So what did we learn this year? My recommendations always
I
slap.
don't know if you outright recommended this. I knew you were going to bring this up.
I definitely did. I was like, everybody needs to watch this movie ASAP.
It
I feel like Steven was on the episode when I was like gushing over it.
Yeah, it probably was. It's a great movie. Soundtrack, superb.
Soundtrack is really great too. Yeah, it needs to be. This is one of those movies that like I legitimately think that if every human being watched this movie, the world would be a better place. And I mean that very unironically, because like I think it has things to say about like, I don't know, the scope of human perspective that are very important. So you should all watch this movie. You should all listen to Nerdbomber every once in a while. Nerdbomber, I guess I'll turn it over to you with that in mind.
All right, so this is not as heartfelt, but everybody should probably watch this from like a security angle or just like a blowing your mind angle. American Nightmare. This is a true crime 3-part documentary on Netflix about the kidnapping of somebody in California. I think it was like 2015. I vaguely remember this being on the news. I think it was even on the Today Show. And they basically called it like the Gone Girl copycat. And the true story behind what happened here is just mind-boggling and baffling and makes you very, very angry for a number of reasons. Also makes you a little like scared and sketched out and makes you like rethink your personal home security. And I don't want to like give too much away. Like it's obviously a true crime story, so if you're familiar with the case, you already know what happens, but I think there is something to be said about the way that the documentary kind of unravels everything, because just when you think that things can't get like crazier or stupider, they somehow do, and it just like is a rolling stone of just craziness. You should watch this. Even if you're not like a true crime person, I feel like everybody needs to watch this for various reasons.
Yeah, Nerdbomber messaged me. Well, I don't think it was unprompted, but you were like, what do you say specifically? You were like, get chain locks for your doors and window jams for your windows.
Well, this was me.
That was you that said that. Okay.
Because the whole way that this person got into people's houses was he used a it was a special key,
a bump key.
Key. Yeah, he used a bump key and just opened people's doors.
Yeah, bump keys are crazy.
Walked in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like put either a chain or some kind of stop on your doors, because it was either he used a bump key on the front door or you can just drill out the locks in your window. And like it was like your houses aren't as secure as you think they are, folks. So like put a chain on the door or something. In addition to just like the deadbolt.
Yeah, I don't think mine's very secure. Like if I hear something at night, I'm like thinking about it. That's like
There used to be that show, It Takes a Thief, and he would like show how vulnerable people's homes are. Can I do this to your house?
No, I don't need you to. I already know how vulnerable my house is. I don't need people showing me.
Okay. I know exactly how to break in. I already have like 3 points of entry.
Yeah, I guarantee you.
Yikes.
I know how I'd get into my house if I was locked out. It wouldn't be that hard. We just say that to all the people out there potentially looking to burgle me. Anyways, back to Nerdbomber.
But then in addition to that, I also started reading a book series called The Magicians. And they actually Sci-Fi turned this into a TV show, but I haven't watched that yet. But I've heard good things about this book series.
Yeah, this is the V.E. Schwab, right?
No.
No.
Though I have read that as well. This is by Lev Grossman. And
why did I think it was V.E. Schwab? It doesn't matter.
That's like Shades of Magic or something like that. But they're very similar series titles. But it has like shades of Harry Potter almost, where the main character is selected to participate in, like, he shows that he has some magical abilities unknowingly and is recruited then to go to this magical school, kind of in a slice of the world where it's being hidden from the regular world. And I'm not super far into it. It's definitely not. It's good and compelling, and I'm still reading it. But you can tell the author is trying to make his main character feel a lot like Holden Caulfield, and we know how I feel about that character, I feel like, at this point. So I'm very interested in the world building and the magic system. The main character isn't really hitting with me right now, but I'm going to keep reading. I've heard it's like a really good series, so I'm powering through. Very entertained so far still.
How many books are there?
There are 3 books, and they're not that long either. They're slim boys, especially like, I don't know, when I'm looking at books like anything by Christopher Paolini that I've read in the last few years, or like massive Stephen King tomes. Like, these are slim books. So interesting, but I'll keep you posted how it is.
Word. Techtic, you're last on our list today, I believe.
All right. So I've alluded a couple times about playing a full video game start to finish in one go, and I did that. This is the first time in my life, by the way. I played Stray start to finish, binged it, completely done. Took me about 6 hours. And guys, this is a fantastic game. You think it's just a kitty cat adventure? My goodness gracious, it is not. It is in a post-human world, and you are navigating this city area while trying to avoid certain I don't want to spoil things, but you have to avoid these certain creatures so that they don't take you out, while solving the mystery of returning back to your fellow feline friends. And it is very good. There's like heartfelt moments. They like perfectly made you feel like a cat, and the way it moves and the way it feels, like you feel like, hey, if I was a cat, I'd be sad in this moment for sure. And it's just done very well, and you can really binge it in 6 hours, and I highly recommend this game.
Cheers. Yeah, I haven't done that in a while, like one sitting basically. It's an accomplishment in today's day and age. Shout out to that. Who's our quiz person today? It's not me. I know that.
It is me.
Okay. Well, you're in charge from here on out. I'm taking a back seat and going on a wonderful quiz journey with all of you. Before I do, though, the quiz records. Steven, 1-0 in your first episode of the year.
Yeah. I have a beef with that. I don't want my free point.
You know what? Well, we all got a free point, so.
Oh, wow.
I know you did, but I don't want this charity action here.
Do you actually want me to take it away? I'll take it off.
Yeah, I want real points here.
All right, it's coming off.
If you take it away from him, it should come away from everybody.
Nope, just me. Just me.
Look, what he says goes. It's just him. So now he's down to 0-0. He's got a clean slate. Nerdbomber 4-2, Techtic 3-2, myself 3-3 on the outside looking in at this point. And Nerdbomber's hosting today. So just the fellas duking it out. And what is our topic today?
Our topic this week is Pink. We all know her. We all love her. Women keep having babies at her concerts. Pink is a singer who's been around. Yeah, you haven't heard that?
No.
Pregnant women keep going into labor at Pink
someone
concerts.
like last week or 2 weeks ago just did, I think.
It's like 3 or 4 at this point on her latest tour.
Is it the frequent?
There's a joke. There's a joke there
of her singing or something.
No, there's a joke there with her name. There for sure is a joke there.
Are you gonna say it, or are you just gonna say there's a joke?
No, it feels not PG though.
Hey, we're a family show. All right. Well, I don't know anything about Pink. Let me start by saying that. So if
The singer?
I don't even know anything about the color really, but certainly not the singer. So
You've heard Pink music, though.
no,
like,
sure.
You couldn't escape
I'm just
it.
saying that in a quiz setting, I'm out to sea here. I don't have high hopes.
Well, I mean, I would assume that unless you all studied Pink's history, you probably are all in the same boat.
Pinkology.
So, as per usual, though, this is Price is Right style, so you try to numerically get as close as possible to the answer without going over, and everybody has a single lifeline. You can either +1 somebody or use the number 1, and you can only do that once per game. Shall we get into it? And who wants to go first?
Oh, well, I think it should be Techtic. You should go Techtic, then me, then Steven.
All right, let's get into it. Pink's first solo album was released on April 4th, 2002, and was called Can't Take Me Home. What was its total length in seconds?
It's the full album.
The full album length in seconds.
1,800 seconds.
Oh, it's more than that for sure. I'm going to go with 2,880 seconds.
2,400.
Illeagle, what was yours?
2,880.
All right, so you get that. It's 3,261 seconds.
4 minutes per song, 12 songs. That was how I came up with my number. I don't know if that's actually like anywhere close or not, but I'll take the point.
Dang.
And you are in the lead now. I don't know if you guys have seen any clips of Pink concerts, but she has been known to do like some acrobatic style stunts during her concerts. And in my research, I actually found out that Pink was trained as a competitive gymnast starting at the age of 4. At what age did that training stop?
Interesting. Age 14. She did it for 10 years. 14.
My first guess was going to be 12. I'm going to go with 12.
She actually kept going up through high school, so I'm going to go 17.
Steven hit the nail right on the head. She stopped her formal competitive gymnast training at the age of 12.
Well, dang.
So we have a tied game.
Yeah. Tie between the two good guys, and there's one bad guy. It's Techtic. I don't know why I did that to you just now, Techtic. You're a good guy.
All right. So according to What Song, which is a website, not a sponsor, but they track, what songs appear in various TV shows or movies. How many Pink songs have appeared in either a TV episode or a movie?
So not the number of movies, but the number of songs.
Yes.
I'm going to say... I'm just going to go 10.
20.
Using +1s when there's 2 other people is kind of challenging. I feel like this is my best opportunity to do it.
Yeah,
so
I'm
going to say 11 because I think 20 is too high.
I'm sorry, Steven, you would have had it otherwise. His +1 gotcha. She has 13 songs that have appeared in various episodes or
Gamesmanship,
movies,
man.
and the most popular song that appeared the most often was So What?
I'm just, don't hate the player, hate the game, etc. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I'm going for it.
Now, keeping in the same realm of Pink in TV shows and movies, she's actually appeared in TV shows and movies herself. In what year did Pink appear on SpongeBob SquarePants playing herself?
This was 2008.
I'm going to go later. I'm going to say 2011.
Wow. My guess is... I'm using my +1, 2012.
Techtic gets this one. So now there's a tie for
Woof.
second place. 2009 is when she appeared on SpongeBob
I actually
SquarePants.
remember this. I
well
was
played.
excited
Really
to
well
see
played.
Pink on SpongeBob. I was like, this was like late, like I was still in high school.
This is very competitive, guys. Shout out to all of us.
This is very competitive. You guys are Pinkologists. You sold yourself short.
That's what she said. The first part, the Pinkologist part.
Yeah, we didn't sell ourselves short.
All right, so to close it out, assuming that Illeagle wins, if either Steven or Techtic gets this point, I'm going to have to scramble and find a tiebreaker. I should have just preloaded one, but that's how the cookie crumbles. Pink became the only female
Wait, we're all
artist.
tied? All
No,
three of us?
it's
No, Illeagle is
it's
winning.
2 to 1 to 1.
With two-
So it's very possible
Yeah.
that someone's going to tie me, and then you're going to need a tiebreaker. So really, you're probably going to need a tiebreaker no matter what.
So Pink became the only female artist to sell out stadium shows in 2010 with her Funhouse Summer Carnival tour. How many combined total tickets did she sell during this tour?
So it was 2010,
Yes.
425,000.
I'm going to go an even 1 mil.
So the full tour,
Yes.
1,000,001.
Techtic gets this one. The answer is 3 million tickets.
Brutal. So now Techtic and I have to do texting, right?
Oh.
I don't want the gimme win.
Yeah, that was what you said. We showed absolutely zero mercy, and I'm not going to apologize for that. It's you played
All right.
in the game.
I have a good one, actually.
Hit me.
All right, so Pink claims that her name derives from the movie Reservoir Dogs, and that while seeing the movie with her friends, they all agreed that she resembled the character Mr. Pink, played by Steve Buscemi. What year did Reservoir Dogs come out?
First of all, that's hilarious. That's like the funniest thing ever. To be told you look like Steve Buscemi by all your friends. They were goofing. All right. Okay, my answer is in.
And Illeagle takes this one. The movie came out in 1992. Illeagle texted me 1991. Techtic texted me 1994, so he busted. You're right on the money there.
What year did it come out?
1992.
So I crushed on that one. Okay, I moved to 4 and 3. Techtic to 3 and 3, which means skibbity boop. I move ahead of him and move up to second place. Nerdbomber remains in first at 4 and 2. Steven, you should have taken the charity.
Nope.
I mean,
I play with honor.
That's
0-1.
Okay, to 0-1 you go. And we're looking forward to having you back for your next quiz, at which point hopefully you will crawl your way out of that hole. We thank you all for joining us. Steven, we thank you for joining us. Any parting words, anything else you want to shout out, or just shout out any other podcast or whatever you want to do?
You know what I think I want to shout out is local pie shops. I don't know if you guys may have seen this on my Twitter feeds or not, but we have a pie shop local that they have like 3 stores. Every Friday I go and I get a barbecue mac and cheese pie. It is the most delicious thing
That sounds
ever.
amazing.
Barbecue mac and cheese pie.
Oh, it's so good. It's
A savory
pulled pork.
pie.
Yeah, they do savory and sweet every day.
Is it like $20 though?
No, it's like, I think total for a sweet and savory is $15, and it's just a little.
Not bad. That's not bad.
Just a little personal pie. They do chicken pot pies every day, and then they do like a taco pie, a spaghetti pie, a chili pie. They're delicious.
I love this shout out. Shout out to just pie and also local businesses. I mean, how could you really say no to any of that? Very good. Pies are delicious. You heard it here first. Or probably you didn't hear it here first. You probably heard it a lot of other places first, but you're hearing it here last. Maybe. I don't know. Well, yeah. Thanks again for joining us, Steven. Always a pleasure to have you. And thank you again for all of your continued support of the show. Thanks to all of you as well for continuing to support us by listening and leaving us reviews on Apple Podcasts and hitting us up on Twitter at the handles already mentioned and hitting us up on Patreon, patreon.com/onlinewarriorspodcast. We're going to see you all in the month of March, but in the meantime, stay safe and keep on podcasting.